Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to Richmond, England, and Ted Lasso. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that on today's flight, our in-flight entertainment system will feature the most beautiful game. That's right, Division II American football and professional darts.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Max Singer and Rich Inman. Welcome back to the pod, Rich.
Yeah, thanks. My last episode, I got a red card, so I couldn't come back until this one.
Just doing months of research of how to podcast and football works. Well, gentlemen, this week we are going to be talking about and diving into the world of Ted Lasso in honor of the World Cup that is going on around us and very close to you two in LA. But Max, before we dive too deep into this episode, can you tell folks what the TV Pilot's License is all about?
I don't understand what all this talk about soccer is. This is called Ted Lasso. It's about cowboys, right? We're doing a Western?
Yeah, yeehaw.
Yes. Giddy up.
All right, here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes and making us want to watch more, and if they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And before we dive too deep into Ted Lasso, a quick word from our sponsors. Well, let's dive into the world of Ted Lasso, the world of football, and talk a little bit more about it via a synopsis. American college football coach Ted Lasso is hired to manage AFC Richmond, a struggling English soccer club, and must win over skeptical players, staff, and fans.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
Which I think we absolutely saw in this pilot episode. But Max, can you tell us a little bit more of this unconventional start of Ted Lasso?
Today, we are talking about the pilot episode of Ted Lasso, which originally aired on August 14th, 2020 on Apple TV. And rather than talk about one person, one individual, one showrunner, we're going to talk about the entire process of how Ted Lasso went from stage to TV to even bigger TV. In 2013, as part of their promotional strategy around Premier League games on NBC and NBC Sports, a series of commercials are commissioned starring actor Jason Sudekis as Ted Lasso, a wide-eyed college football coach from Kansas City who takes over Tottenham Hotspur. It should be noted that allegedly Spurs were the only club who did not reject their likeness being used for these commercials. However, before appearing on your TV, Ted Lasso actually originated in Amsterdam back in 2001 as a character written by Sudekis and Brendan Hunt during their time in Boom Chicago, a long-running sketch show in the Netherlands whose alumni include Seth Meyers, Jordan Peele, Amber Ruffin, Kay Cannon, and Ike Barinholtz, among many, many more. The ads on NBC were broadly comedic, with Lasso portrayed as more hot-headed. The character would return for the 2014 season, albeit now coaching the St. Catherine Fighting Owls, a girls' youth club. The commercial spots went viral, and in 2015, the first inklings of Ted Lasso, the TV show, came to be. Sudekis, along with creative partner Brendan Hunt and Joe Kelly, all former members of Second City and Boom Chicago, wrote the first draft of a season outline in the spring of 2015, though that idea would sit dormant for several years. In 2017, Sudekis pitched the table show concept to one of his pickup basketball buddies, acclaimed TV writer Bill Lawrence.
God damn it.
You know, sometimes you're just balling at the rec center with some middle-aged dads. One of them happens to have a bunch of Emmys and, you know, has been the showrunner for some of the most prestigious comedies of the last 25 years, and you kick your concept over to him.
Rich,
what if we took this show that you wrote about soccer, A Fish Out of Water story, and made it almost entirely about therapy?
It brings up the question of who is the most powerful or impressive person that you've played rec league like sports with, and right now. Rich, go for it. I'd love to hear your answer.
The only person, one person. There was one very famous porn star that was in one of my baseball leagues.
Just like Bill Lawrence.
Just like Bill Lawrence. He was famous for his longevity. Like he was in the game for like 30 years or something like that. Like a crazy amount of time that you could be a porn star. See,
when you said longevity, I was thinking of something entirely different.
Both your eyes.
I was like, wow, that sounds exhausting.
Guy could absolutely swing a bat.
But yeah, aside from the iron horse of porn, I'm talking about the actor who played Nelson Baguetti on Silicon Valley. He was a first baseman in one of our leagues, and yeah, that was probably the person with the most cachet that I've met in this. But if you play rec sports in LA, it's all just post production editors and stuff.
I love that you played with Josh. I love that you played with Josh Brenner. I know Sudekis is like a big basketball fan. He's always sitting courtside, always repping WNBA player sneakers too. Yeah. Like love his like repping of like the Ionescu's and things like that. I need to know what Bill Lawrence's game is like in a rec center league. Like is he like banging down in the post? Does he have a good mid-range game? Is he a pick and roll dude?
There's no one banging that's over 40 years old.
I think Bill Lawrence might be a 3-and-D guy. I don't know. I just see him spotting up, shooting, and then playing some stellar defense if the moment allows. But
absolutely taking a charge. Anyway, we got more to get to here. Jumping at the opportunity to work with Sudekis, Lawrence boards the project, helping to round out the character and story away from the perhaps one-dimensional version from the commercials. The series was purchased by Apple with a straight-to-series order in October 2019, a month before the streamer's official launch. Portraying AFC Richmond's home stadium, Nelson Road, is Selhurst Park, the real-life stadium of Crystal Palace FC. Today's pilot is directed by Tom Marshall, best known for helming the Michaela Cole series, Chewing Gum.
Nice.
Amazing. Well, let's dive into this world of Ted Lasso, and let's start off with the idea of, boy, is soccer or football so pretty to watch when people are good at it, because just starting off with this amazing shot of some of the footwork that we're seeing, the slow motion shots, the stadium itself, and like the grandeur of what can be. I don't know which league they're in. I'm going to just say Premier League sports is incredible. And did you guys get even a sense of like, oh, this is pretty fucking cool, and boy, did Apple spend all of the money doing this.
I just looked up the camera types that were used by the DPs on this. I don't know what any of these words mean, so I'm not going to get too into that, but it is...
does it sound expensive?
Yeah, they sound real expensive. We've talked a lot about this when we cover anything related to sports, albeit, it could be a high school show or it could be professional sports, where it's really hard to make the sports part look good in the sports show. And Ted Lasso makes the sports part look really pretty. And I think, to me, this opening sequence of just football practice, not even game, just we're talking about practice here. It looks so good. It looks so cinematic. And it kind of sucks you into, we're going to do half-hour comedy different than your mother's half-hour comedy. Like, they are going to look on another level. And we're going to make sure that this part of the show is going to feel important. It's going to feel prestigious, and like you're going to know soccer, damn it.
How dare you say that other shows can't accomplish that? I know Connor's Story can back check.
Well, I mean, I guess a question for the two of you is, we go from some cinematic soccer shots to a lot of table setting, and giving us the understanding of why is one of many. Why is today different, right? And today is different because there is new ownership of AFC Richmond, and they are going to do it their way. And if you get in their way, you are literally out of a job. What do you think of this first office type scene, this first, front office scene for our experience as a viewer, and maybe getting a better understanding of what we believe this show is about? Big air quotes on that.
They do a really good exposition job of not making the characters say absolutely everything that's happening all the time, and they do that with like newspaper headlines that they just plop on the desk, or eventually using Scott Van Pelt to say it. There is you can gather so much of the situation, and people who love like sports movies in general will know that this is essentially the plot of Major League, but span over several seasons. That the person who inherited this team from a divorce, from a very messy, very public divorce of a billionaire, is Rebecca, and she's going to be at the helm of AFC Richmond and watching and essentially taking her hands off, steering into oncoming traffic and then taking your hands off the wheel to let this team collapse around itself.
Max, what do you think of Hannah Waddingham's performance? Because she plays such a critical role of getting us invested in this world, into the idea of AFC Richmond being important. And I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Well, first off, R.I.P. David Hockney. You got to shout out this pilot. You would have loved this podcast episode. Hannah Waddingham has such a remarkable presence that she brings to this, where she feels so in control of the scenes when she's in. She feels so commanding and so grounded in her presence. And I think that in a show where we have not met our protagonist yet, we have only talked about our protagonist, and I do like a tease like this in a cold open where we don't meet the person immediately, we just kind of allude to them. How she plays Rebecca is such a contrast to what we get to know with Ted Lasso, as well as the people around her. She is such a fun contrast to Higgins, to Ted, to the other people we meet later on, in that she, at least for now, feels the most normal in this world, in a bumbling fools situation. Rich, you alluded to Major League. I think that's very obvious as this pilot goes on.
For sure.
But to be the person who believes that they are ruddering the ship, to believe that they are the person who is fully in control, Waddingham plays it excellent.
Yeah, she really doesn't feel like she spent a minute not being the CEO, which is that's a difficult thing to just jump into with authority and everybody listening to you. But it felt, her character feels like she's been running a football team for 20 years.
It is such a fun thing to admit. I know this is a TV pilot podcast. This is the first time I've ever watched Ted Lasso in my entire life. I know, big surprise. You surprise
me every time with what you have and have not watched.
Every time, but there's this thing where everyone starts telling you should watch a show, where you're just like, fuck you, I'm never gonna watch this show because you keep on telling me to watch it. Okay. And I will say this at the beginning, and I'm gonna say it again when we talk about things we loved. I loved this performance by Hannah Waddingham. I think that this character is such a fun one. There's a lot of meat to the bone that immediately when she comes in and they have that very simple line of oh, do you like that painting? Right? And she tells the small story and she's like, oh, it's a shame you didn't say yes because it's worth £1 million. And it's cool. I know everything I need to know about your perspective on value, relationships, all of that stuff from that small interaction.
Absolutely.
Every single show should be required to cast one thespian in its 100%. Ensemble. You could have all your people who are from British comedies and Saturday Night Live in your ensemble, but you need one grounded thespian who knows how to play larger than life into the back of the rafters to just be this pillar in the middle. You need that person who can play such a contrast to the other silly character work happening around them.
And then the rest of the cast is Muppets.
Yeah, I was about to say, that is why the Muppets Christmas Carol starring Michael Caine is the greatest movie of all time.
It works because he's playing it straight. He's playing it like it's Dickens. He never breaks. That's why it works.
Well, as much as we talk about thespians and Michael Caine and all of the Muppets, including which one is Michael Caine's favorite, let's talk a little bit more about meeting this mystery coach in this instance. And we get it from a familiar face to us in the U.S., which is Scott Van Pelt, and this Sports Center intro, which I hate to bring everything back to Indiana, but does the story of Ted Lasso remind you of Curt Signetti?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, I was wondering which one of us would bring it up first. I put $20 on Calcia that it was Geoff.
But it's so funny that it's just like, it's Curt Signetti, but friendlier, and I don't think Curt Signetti would ever dance. But, I mean, using this Sports Center drop as our exposition of why is this person exceptional, right? Why was this person the hiring, even though it is still flabbergasting in this sense, is like, what do you two think about that as a plot device?
I do think this is such a fun reveal of our protagonist to play up the drama of Rebecca saying she doesn't need to do a coaching search because she has her man already, and then cutting to SVP, Sports Center, and this viral dance clip. Mm-hmm. It just feels like you're getting the rug pulled out from you. We've built up all of this drama of sport and of the prowess of the great English tradition of football and this rich historic club, and then you get a literal record scratch in a way, it feels like, and it is a very silly, lighthearted way to meet this person. I actually recently found myself watching an SNL episode from 2009 where they were doing a What's Up With That segment and realizing that...
Oh yeah, it's that Running Man.
It's the Ted Lasso dance, and knowing now that this character was first performed on stage nearly 20 years before this show aired, that this dance had been perfected more than a decade before, it feels like there's so much that's been building up to Ted Lasso, the TV show, that I almost wanted to like give a small little clap to Jason Sudekis of like, you did it, bud. You built this thing up over nearly 20 years, and you finally got it to a place where to say it succeeded is an understatement.
Yeah, I just want to say, as someone who has written some pretty terrible characters in the past and could look forward 20 years from now, that if Netflix or Apple or HBO want to invest in horny Batman, or let's see, horny Santa Claus, or any of the other amazing ideas that I've come up with.
Hey, Rich, it sounds like you need to play some pickup basketball if these are going to get fleshed out.
Right. Bill, call me.
So after this intro, right, we get an intro sequence in this show, and I found it so funny that the Ted Lasso theme is an original by Mumford and Sons that was made just for this show.
Oh yeah,
yeah, which is just like, it's one of those things where it's like,
Apple, I'm sorry. Like, yeah.
Like, and we've done so many shows where is an important part of the theme song, right? Like, I immediately go back to Entourage, but this was such a charming intro and like a clever one. Max, did you have anything that you attached to other than the Mumford and Sons, or were you just like, yeah?
Well, let me start by saying, yeah! Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I don't know how many Apple TV originals you guys have watched at this point, but...
It's not a lot.
I think they're just trying to win Emmys for credit sequences because they're all basically full art house directed music videos. Margot's Got Money Troubles has an incredibly elaborate one set to a Robin song. This full length one with Marcus Mumford's tune is very pretty and very art designed, obviously Severance. But yeah, Apple TV really has the opening credits game on lock
It
right
was
now.
gorgeous. It was one of those things where I was a little bit sad it didn't go on for like 10 more seconds, maybe even 20. I could have just sat there and watched it.
Buddy, wait for episode 2 and on.
Hell yeah.
It really does give like an extra bit of exposition there too, where it's just like, okay, this character is just going to be, I'm in a situation that is so much bigger than myself all the time. That was the these are weathered stadium seats, and then he's just coming up and plopping himself down in the middle of absolute nothingness.
It plays the like the stranger, grateful to be here, the fish out of water. I think it does a good job playing into the themes of the show, which can be very effective for an intro credit sequence. And, you know, I think a lot of people skip it when they watch these shows on streaming, but there does feel like some real intentional decision making behind this whole opening bit that does lend some credit to the show itself.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that idea of fish out of water, right? Because we meet the title character of Ted Lasso as they're taking their flight on Dubai Air. And
that felt sponsored.
It felt
that felt like Dubai Air bought or it's paid enough for half of the show to get made.
It felt like they went to Qatar and were like, "Do you want in?" And they were like, "Fuck you."
Ted Lasso in Qatar is a different show entirely.
But I want to hear from the two of you. The first impression of Ted, I think, just gives us so much. Like, it gives us 80% of an understanding of the character, and at least for now, from a pilot basis, right?
Yeah, there's an element of what makes Ted Lasso that, how do I describe this? At times it's so overly cartoonish that it really does take you out of what this human being is supposed to be, because sometimes it really does make you feel like you're talking to real life Ned Flanders, and there are moments where they're like, you know, he's like rhyming with himself, which is very Ned Flanders actually, or he's like doing small asides with Coach Beard the entire time, to the point where it just feels like, okay, what is this character supposed to be? Is he supposed to be like a cute youth pastor, or is he supposed to be a guy with like real troubles and like, you know, and is actually good at his job? Because that is like, those two elements of his personality are very like thrown back and forth with this. Not to say that this character is poorly written or anything like that, but it just feels over the top sometimes.
Rich, I've got a new character for you, and this is Ted Lasso at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Well, you got
wait 20 years and then they can buy it. Just don't do it. Don't burn it right now.
I'm burning. You got electric guitar, you got acoustic guitar, you got Guitar Hero.
I mean, go ahead, Max.
Well, I was going to say, these intro sequences of Ted and a lot of this pilot feels like it is selling you on a character, that we're getting a little bit of what the overall theme of this season is going to be. There's some of the bits with Rebecca and Higgins that led you to believe there's a little bit of like a larger plot at hand, and perhaps some of Ted's hiring is not as altruistic as it seems. But a lot of what these 30 minutes are showing you almost as proof of concept of, we can take this person and we can expand this world and we can show the entire ecosystem around them too. But there is a lot of Ted. There is a lot of Ted Lasso isms in this, from one-liners to not understanding British culture to at one point beatboxing. And to do what is close to a half hour of character work can feel like a lot. And this is one of those pilots that to me is just trying to sell you on a concept more than trying to be a beginning, middle, and end type of story.
100%. This is definitely, you know, this being my first time seeing this, it feels like hey, if you last the 30 minutes of this show, congrats, you're going to love this show. And you're going to click on that next episode, and you're going to be invested in the world of Ted. Like, if you find Ted charming, great. Then, boy, do I have the show for you. It's called Ted Lasso. But if you, even in the first let's call it the first 3 minutes of meeting Ted and seeing his character on the plane, seeing his character like introducing himself and like having these moments where he's like, oh, let me know what's your name, right? It's such a simple thing, but it's a way of showing this like Kansas charm that comes from him rather than calling it Midwest. Yeah. And that's the thing that I found so interesting about the character is Max, you let us in on the idea that Bill Lawrence helped flesh this out from just an advertisement or a sketch into something much larger. And this entire episode is just, let's see the fish out of water. And if you like this character in out of water, let's show you a few different ways that and instances that they're going to be dealing with throughout their time with AFC Richmond if this show continues, sort of thing.
You can definitely see the Bill Lawrence touch with how the things that motivate Ted away from the public, and then also with how Hannah Waddingham's character is handled too. For someone who's been like a long time happily married man, this dude loves a divorce. This dude loves a divorce. He loves a widower. He loves like it is really like I want to create this sense of longing in this absolute clown goofball who cannot handle bubbly water. I really like you can definitely see like precisely where he came in with his like surgeon scalpel and changed some things and made these characters more relatable and like made them a little bit sadder and more
Well, I'd love to highlight a couple of those moments, right?
Yeah.
Of us seeing Ted go from charming to maybe a version of uncomfortable or a version of not knowing where his place is. And one that I think is the most obvious is when that first press conference with the media where, hey, there is bubbly water instead of still. And the press seemingly out to get him, which is wild considering like, even in the U.S., we're used to sporting events, the press trying to stay like semi-neutral. And this just seemed like, all right, cool, blood in the water, go get him, boys, sort of thing. Like, Max, what were your feelings during this press conference scene?
This scene, and I think a lot of Ted Lasso in general, in terms of its pacing and how we segue into new scenes and new environments, kind of feels like you just accidentally ended up on an escalator in that all of a sudden you're on the move, and to throw Ted directly into the water with a cut and sharks around him is the right choice here. It is it is the right move dramatically, it's the right move plot wise, and to immediately test his good nature, to test his character, to really give an accurate depiction of the British media and how cruel they can be.
It's awful.
It is powerful. I think it starts to show another side to this character in that they can be affected, that there is a certain degree of veneer that can be brushed off if you try to get to them. And what I really love about this scene is that without necessarily spending a lot of time or naming the people, we show the entire world of English football. Yeah. We show player reactions to this press conference. We show soccer hooligans in a pub in the middle of the day watching it. I love these unnamed characters that we cut to, because what they're saying here to me is we are going to zoom out from this world. Like, if you stick with us, like, we're focusing on Ted today because the show is called Ted Lasso, and we need you to understand this protagonist and where they come from and how they got here to this fish out of water story. But there's a lot of people in this world that you are going to get to know and love, and trust us that we will address them all later on.
Yeah, and you also get, like, in a comparison standpoint between British sports media and American sports media, I think what's really important about how they established Scott Van Pelt is like how they're viewing this on the American side. Like, they set up like why it's important for him to go, why he does have a spotlight on him, how Americans are going to view this. It is very much just you're watching SportsCenter at 12:45 p.m. or 12:45 a.m. Now on for the third time of the night or something like that.
Sure.
And you're like,
it's my favorite episode.
It's just a small aside. And then you get here and you're like, oh no, this is like massive global implication of this. And then you get Hannah Waddingham coming in and saying like, I haven't seen the press room this full in quite a long time. So you're like, okay, this is actually a team that's been mostly forgotten about. And here's what we're going to do. Here's the spark plug that we're putting in this situation.
And after we get this, like, I love the bait and switch that we get from this character in this moment, because, we have Rebecca come in and she's like, hey, give him a shot. This is different, like all this. And then immediately, we've talked about Major League already, we get our Major League moment.
Yes.
Where it's just like, I want to ruin this club because fuck my ex-husband.
Yep.
This was the thing he loved most. And while I was ready for that twist, it was one that I was just like, ooh, you're a bad girl, Rebecca. Like you bad girl. Like, look at you, like making Ted just like the innocent bystander of your cruel intentions. Yeah. And like, did you guys enjoy the twist at all, or was it just me and my simple brain?
This is the billionaire version of keying your husband's car when you found out he was cheating on you or something like that. This is like, I'm going to take this fucking Camaro and make it look like absolute dog shit. I'm gonna make your club that you've loved since you were a child. I'm gonna send them down to a league I don't even know about yet, because I've watched a little bit of Wrexham and I have no idea what they're all called. But yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I think like this establishes like an antagonist with a smile on kind of thing, which is like hey, I'm back, baby. I'm bringing up Severance again. It feels a little bit like Adam versus the Severance Corporation, of just like, yeah, this is like what we're doing nonsense with the smile on. Don't worry about what you're contributing to. And that is really like what her arc becomes.
Well, it's a Dickens villain. It's a Shakespeare villain. It's a theatrical villain. It's someone who is going to be so poised and welcoming and pours you tea and gets you a home, and all the while is plotting your downfall while smiling at you the entire time. And I think this is the first of two twists in this episode that raise the stakes and make it not just a show about a goofy soccer coach.
Yeah.
Because now we're starting to get to a place where it's about X, but it's really about Y. And I think in the back half of this pilot, we start to really find those things where it's not just Tedisms anymore. Like, we are starting to build and flesh things out. We've gotten some of the Tedness out of the way to intro the character. Now here's what our show is.
So before we get to that second twist, I would like to hear from the two of you about a little bit, or maybe a moment, one of the Tedisms that we see of building out more of the lore, or the what really makes Ted in this. Because there's a lot of different things that happen between that press conference reveal and the final scene of that show. So I'm curious, is there a favorite moment of yours that maybe you want to speak to?
There is the setting up the office moment of how they introduce basically the camp where he and Coach Beard are going to be running the ship from. The photos of like the 1980s Miracle on Ice team, or like other what's his face from the University of New Mexico, the coach, the photo that he puts up.
Well, I think you're talking about the NC State photo of.
Oh, it's NC State. Yeah. Okay. But like stuff like that, like inspirational coaches. And then there is a moment where Roy Kent walks by, and I know we haven't really like talked about many of the actual footballers yet. But Roy Kent walks by and he leans over to Beard. He's like, if he thinks he's mad now, wait till we win him over. And then Beard says he'll be furious. And it was like massive foreshadowing. And it also sets up this really huge twist here where Ted is not as like behind the eight ball he's not having the wool pulled over his eyes as much as we think. Like, he's actually more in control of this situation than we think he is, even though Beard is the only one that actually decided to spend some time learning about soccer.
Max, what about yourself? Was there a Tedism that you really enjoyed?
I mean, if we're just talking about this entire episode, I think it's Ted taking the time to get to know Nathan and Keely, that he is getting to know these people who, for one reason or another, are viewed in very singular ways. Nate is just viewed as an equipment boy and basically invisible, and Keely is viewed as nothing more than Jamie the Star's wag. And Ted finds humanity and he finds common ground with these people who are on completely opposite ends of like the power dynamic within AFC Richmond. And I think just spending time, and again, it's building that outside world to say that there's a lot of people we're going to get to know and they're going to play different roles, wear different hats. Seeing him find that ability to break bread with the lowest man on the totem pole and the person who should be so out of his orbit, I think speaks a lot to who this character is.
And also how poorly AFC Richmond was being run before all this. What a tragic culture of fear and misogyny that they were running through this. It is like what I hear about actual pro sports teams, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I do really love the idea of just the care that Ted shows to every single person he interacts with, even if they're being rude to him. Like the moment where he decides, like, oh, I'm going to clean up the locker room, and he goes into Jamie Tartt's locker and covers up Keely's photos because, like, that's just the type of guy that he is. I was like, all right, cool, great, Ted. When Ted started complaining about not being able to fall asleep because he's thinking about not falling asleep, I was like, great, you're the most relatable man I need. But I think the thing that I really enjoyed about this character is I was thinking of this character in other situations. Like, cool, this is the guy who definitely goes into, you know, when he's recruiting a kid for football in his past job, and he's eating 4 bowls of the chili that he can barely like stand because of the spice level, but he wants to get that kid, and he's going to be charming as hell and ask for what the recipe is so he can make it at home. And that's something that it's like, all right, cool, I'm willing to invite that character into my home every week for 30 or so minutes. But
well, this gets into like a territory that's like it's the difference between what we find to be a positive attitude in sports here versus sports in England. They talk about this a lot throughout the entire series, but they're like, the optimism that's required for sports in the US looks entirely different than it does in the UK. There's like there's the phrase it's the hope that kills you. That's part of like that surrounds British sports in general. That would be a true bummer to hear for American sports. Like, no, I want to believe that the Colorado Rockies can right the ship and win the World Series. Like, you got to believe. That's the only... It's
going to happen. Like, yeah. I swear, it's going to happen one day. But
yeah, you got to believe. That's my Mets saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's Lexapro night at the ballpark.
I would go to that.
I do want to bring us to our secondary twist, though, which is we never really, up until this final moment, understand why Ted took this job until he makes a phone call home. And it is, you know, maybe it isn't all sunshine and rainbows for Ted Lasso because, Rich, you sort of alluded to it, but there seems to be a separation going on between him and his spouse and the ask for space. And Max, I'd be curious to hear from you as far as, I think we all would agree this was a needed moment, but to have Jason Sudekis switch from almost a clown character into the sad clown, what did you think about this moment?
I think the scene of him in the shower and him on the phone with his wife, this is the moment where we fully shift into yeah, this is a show about soccer, but it is actually about humanity and human connection and trying to discover oneself, like sense of self and all these things. We fully flesh out Ted in this moment. We talk a lot on this pod about the other side of a character, like needing to get that other side of the coin as well.
Yeah.
And here's where we get it. And the second that he is silently in the shower and that posture,
Yeah.
you know that something is askew. You know that we're not getting the whole story. And to follow that up with the reveal of what the whole story is, it's like, oh, yeah, this person is here for more reasons than just, I like a new challenge. Like, there is soul searching that needs to be done.
He's running from something.
And it also, I like when two people who you're being set up as perhaps foils actually have a common bond with the other that they don't know about yet.
Yeah.
And knowing that him and Rebecca are actually dealing with their own, like, silent trauma, that they're both going through separate journeys, but, like, at some point they're gonna have to cross. As an audience member, you know that. Like, you know they're gonna have to support each other at some point. I think that's a really beautiful thing to reveal without having to say it out loud.
I think there is something that speaks volumes to where this character was at its inception. It was very much the guy who's pretending to drive on the left and doesn't have a steering wheel. That's what the character was.
Oh, you're driving a car, Rich.
And that no, I'm not. And then the guy that says, "Hey, Michelle, I love you." No, you don't have to. Like, one of the most gutting sentences I've ever, like, seen in a TV show, period, was absolutely, like, it was so necessary, and it just added so much depth. And you got to wonder, like, what he's running from, like, how much he misses his family, like, all these forces. Like, the thing that's driving him back to the U.S. at all times. That is, it just, like, allows you to have that different lens throughout the rest of the series.
And Geoff, as the first timer, how did you feel?
Yeah.
I felt that this was the most necessary moment of this entire pilot. Because I gotta be honest with you, if we were just doing Jason Sudekis with an amazing mustache and boy, a sweater that I just wish I had in my closet for 30 minutes every week for a 10 episode season, I'd be like, okay, like, there's a lot of that. Like, we have talked a lot about shows that might be just too much joy. There are things that, it might be too bright and too happy. And is that something that belongs on TV today? And I was about to fall into that camp of, why did everyone want the so much joy thing? Like, I need a little bit of depresso espresso, like, in my show. And this moment to me led me thinking, all right, I am intrigued by that next episode button, right? Like that is something, because I want to know more about how Ted is able to deal with grief while also still doing a job that he knows he's going to do a good job, no matter what the circumstances are around him.
And Geoff, contextually, this show came out literally the first 3 weeks of lockdown.
Yeah.
We felt awful watching this. And
I was going to say, August of 2020, we all needed a spoonful of sugar.
Oh, I thought it was April.
August.
Oh, it was August. Okay. Yeah, I needed this show so goddamn badly.
Yeah, but the Masked Singer was off the air. Rich was like, I need my joy.
And ironically, at a time where we all needed masks, which is, I guess it just kind of lost its allure because of that.
Well, gentlemen, that is this pilot episode. We are left with that new information, but I'm curious, are there any things that you loved about this pilot that you'd like to give a little bit more shine to? Rich, you're nodding your head almost violently, yes, so I'd love to hear from you.
New headphones, baby. They're staying on.
I'd love to hear what your things that you loved were.
For this show being called Ted Lasso, this pilot is the Rebecca show. This is Hannah Waddingham's performance throughout the entirety of the show holds this entire ship together. You stay glued to the progress and regression of AFC Richmond, and every moment where Ted essentially puts himself in the clown car, you see why she's driving it that particular direction. And I think with her strong acting, it really does. It provides a lot of leeway in the middle of like, this is like a tight pilot. This is like, they had to accomplish an awful lot. They had to bring the protagonist across the Atlantic. This is like, and they introduced a ton of characters. They introduced the fucking like soccer hooligans who are mainstays in the entirety of the rest of the show. Like this is, and I still don't know if they have names. But she holds this ship entirely together, and she does so well that you can't help but be captivated by her performance. So yeah, this is her show for sure.
Max?
We have built out the perhaps largest quadrant we ever have in a pilot here, and I want to know how Ted interacts with all of these people that we meet. I want to know more about Ted's relationship with the media. I want Ted at some point to have to interact with the Richmond diehard fans. I want to see how he gets to know each of the individual players that we've teased in this, how he gets to further know Higgins, Nate, Rebecca, himself. There are just so many. Well, what does a scene with Ted and this person or these people look like that we establish now that I think is very, it's a tightrope walk to introduce that many possibilities in 30 minutes. And it does leave you wondering what those interactions will look like in the future.
Yeah. And for myself, I want to give some shine to Brendan Hunt, who in the moments that he has in this pilot, I think are wonderful. It's such a great supporting character, right? Of the person that is loyal to a fault to their boss, but there's a reason behind that. And I think it is so great, just like the small moments that we get with this character of him setting up in the office, like forcing Ted to stay awake, reading up on soccer because neither of them know anything about the sport. Yep. It's moments like that I'm just like, this is such a fun character to play, and I'm sure in episode 2, 3 there are going to be some banger jokes that they give Brendan Hunt that he's going to destroy, but like it was a necessary character to be able to have that like attaboy guy behind Ted in a fish out of water based pilot, and I really enjoyed it. What about wait a minute moments, things that caused you pause? It could be something that was structurally wrong with the pilot. Maybe it's something that you were like, fuck this guy. I'd love to hear from you about your wait a minute moments.
Max has his I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed face on. I really need to see
Max has his dad face on. So I want to hear, hey daddy podcast, what's wrong?
What did Natalie spill on the carpet?
I hated the beatboxing scene so much. I hated him beatboxing so much. It is the hat on the hat. It's the hat on the hat moment of the Ted-isms for me. It's the thing where it almost became too much, and I'm glad that it lasted mere seconds.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now. And, Geoff, this isn't necessarily a spoiler, but there are just huge swings of like how Ted is Ted for the entirety of the show, and they came out of the gate in the third season just making him an absolute fucking clown, and it was so weird. In addition to that, this show has 3, possibly 5, we call that blank in Britain jokes too many. For this to save them. You got all season to let those out. That's totally fine. We don't need to. That's called patience in America. They just went for so many of those particular jokes with Coach Beard, and I know you just gave him so much credit, that it felt a little bit like this is a tight pilot. We got a lot of shit to do. You spent 2 minutes on or less than 2 minutes on your star player. Like, this is like, save them. It's not necessary. It's not necessary.
Yeah. For myself, I will say that while the beatboxing was awkward as hell, I really loved Juno Temple's like response and the acting across from it. I thought was
that's fair.
You also don't know what to do when a grown man beatboxes at you.
I also was sitting there being like, where are we going with this? And then Juno Temple played it off perfectly. But there is a small part of me that, as tight as this pilot was, there was a little bit more that I wanted about some of the star players that we had on the team, rather than the one line that we got of like, that's Roy Kent, and we're talking about him like he's fucking Paul Bunyan, and they were like, he used to play with Chelsea, but now he's a little bit aged, and it's like, cool, I'd like a little bit more, please. Like, just like maybe he speaks like 3 more sentences in the pilot, but like, you know what, beggars can't be choosers in this instance. I
will say, I don't think, and apologies if I'm wrong, it doesn't look like Brett Goldstein or Phil Dunster could play soccer at all. And for the rest of the cast, fine. Like the rest of the team and stuff like that. But the 2 people that speak the most, they just don't look like they can play soccer.
I mean, we will come to find out very, very soon, hypothetically, if we watch episode 2. Well, we have one more question, gentlemen, and it is an in-flight question. This week's in-flight question comes to us from Allison in Nashville, Tennessee. And Allison asks, the show really embraces the idea that dumb Americans don't know anything about soccer. I would be curious about your thoughts on if this is an accurate stereotype, or if you feel at all prepared for this upcoming World Cup, that we're currently in it. We are in the midst of the World Cup. So I guess, gentlemen, from your 2 perspectives, do you feel like you know anything at all about soccer? And do you feel prepared for the World Cup that is going on literally in your backyard?
I think we over-politicize this World Cup too much, to the point where you forget that all these fans are going to come in from around the world we got to see such beautiful moments with the people of Lawrence, Kansas, adopting all these Algerian players and like fans.
Rock chalk Algeria, baby.
Right.
Let's go.
The streets of Toronto were absolutely littered with a gigantic Bosnian march, like a Bosnian supporter march today. Like, it's so cool that we really got so much in our way of like getting ourselves not excited for this. And I don't think we will ever really adopt soccer. We have too many like unbelievable athletes in all the other sports here to do that. But you gotta give patience to like Americans who like want to learn, and then we'll forget. By August we'll forget. But we'll have a great time when it's here. It's like when the Olympics come running around. Like, there's no way that we care about curling that much. Like, we don't. But you better believe we're flying that fucking flag for when our curling boys go up.
Max, what about yourself?
Well, the World Cup is going on at the same time as Love Island, which shows that Americans get really hyper fixated on something that's more popular in England for 6 weeks if we put our minds to it. Don't ask me about strategy. I don't know what a 4-4-2 means or how that's different than other game formations. I am here to vibe out. I'm here to yell goal. I look forward to learning all of your country's chants as I watch your games on TV. But I'm just here to have a good time, man.
Yeah, and for myself, as the more atypical American when it comes to like watching soccer, I am really excited about the actual games. As much as I cannot hear about talking heads talk about this tournament, I'm pumped, because there have been, as of recording this show, there have been 3 matches, and all of them have been really, really fun to watch for very different reasons. And am I eating up that, I think the guy's name is Freddie, and him just going to every big chain restaurant and enjoying American culture to its finest. Like, yes, Buc-ee's is a real thing. That is a gas station that is in the US, and it's insane. Like, I saw someone who put out a thing, and they were like, my best advice, go to Texas Roadhouse because you get the most steak for your dollar possible. And it's just like, yeah, I want that. I want the soccer. And if we get a as I've always put it, for Americans to be invested into something, there has to be a moment, right? There has to be a moment that you can attach yourself to and say, wow, I really locked in with this. For some people,
Brandy Chastain. Brandy Chastain. We love women's soccer.
We can thank a Brandy Chastain in the 99ers for a generation of amazing female soccer players. We can thank Landon Donovan for introducing U.S. men's national team to so many people. I remember where I was in 2010 where we tied with England, which no one thought we were going to do, and I bought a jersey that moment.
Nice.
So for those of you who are like semi-interested in soccer, for those of you who have no interest in soccer, tune in, just pick the team that you're like, I love their jersey, and have a fun time. This is the first World Cup where there are basically quarters because they have hydration breaks, which is hysterical.
They need that. I bought a ticket for a game that's going to take place in like the first weekend of July, and I'm already not. I don't think I want to go.
Rich is hydrating now. Yeah. He is starting hydrating right now. I'm
bulking up now.
He is doing electrolytes as we speak. He has a training regimen for it, but have some fun. Yeah, sure. Are there some weird fucking things going on behind this? Yes, but that is FIFA, and tune it out for a second, and then maybe we can make some change in the future. But before we go into the legacy and the history of the show, a quick word from our sponsor.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
I realized I forgot to thank Allison. Well, thank you, Allison. And we'll talk more about how to submit in-flight questions in a little bit. But a quick history of the show. This show has 3 seasons that are currently out on Apple TV and a total of 34 episodes, with season 4 and a new set of 10 additional episodes coming out on August 5th of 2026. Max already shouted out Crystal Palace for lending their stadium, but they did film this show in Richmond, which I think is really fucking awesome to do.
I did not know Richmond was a real place in London.
Yeah, it is a borough of London. Rich thought it was make-believe, but hey,
I've seen Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. There is merchandise that is abundantly available for the show, including they did a full line release with Nike, DVDs galore, desk merch, signs, you got it. There is a Claymation special, Christmas special that was made that you can find on Apple. The show, the AFC Richmond Club is featured as a usable club on FIFA 23, and you can actually manage as Ted Lasso, which is awesome. I would be remiss to say, if I did not say a rest in peace to the late Anthony Head, who recently passed and does play a fairly large role in the remainder of this show.
And you can see his picture in the pilot.
Yeah, you see his picture in the pilot, and you're going to see him more in the rest of the show.
Surrounded by babies.
Make sure I quickly talk about the awards of this show. 178 nominations, leading to 39 wins that include 7 Critics' Choice Awards, 2 Golden Globes, 6 Hollywood Critic Awards, a Peabody, 13 Emmy Awards, 2 of which were Creative Arts, 3 SAG, and 2 Writers Guilds Award, and surprisingly, not a single Teen Choice Award nomination, which I genuinely am shocked. I'm not even making a joke here. This feels like a show that like maybe teens would watch, but who knows? I
gotta be honest. Most of the show is boomer porn, buddy.
I'm an old fucking millennial.
That's the most elder millennial you've ever said.
I thought teens would watch it.
I thought the teens would eat this up. You're telling me that teens don't like soccer ball?
We gave them Hannah Waddingham. Don't they like Hannah Waddingham?
We gave them Jason Sudekis. He was in SNL.
He was in SNL when you were 3 years old.
You were an infant, and he was on SNL. What do you mean you don't like this show? Well, that is the history of this show. But Rich, it is time for your game of the week.
All right, this week we're doing a little grammar lesson. This one's inspired by the one and only Coach Beard. This week we're going to learn about a phrase called Characterisms. What does that mean?
Grammar.
What does that mean? It's a character named after a defining trait. So Coach Beard has a fucking beard. And obviously the most glaring overuse of this is J.K. Rowling, who would call her Jewish character Bagel Goldenschnoz if she could.
Jesus Christ.
She would. Whatever that banker's name was, it was a second draft.
Oh my God.
All right. So this first question is going to be who can answer first. This character is a folk hero who is said to have lived almost 900 years ago. He is named by his signature clothing. His first mention was in a poem by William Langland in 1370. While his actions were primarily crimes, he was said to be a hero of the poor.
Oh, Robin Hood.
Robin Hood. He was named
for
it's the original character is Robin Hood, which I guess is it's a combination of like what Hat evolved into, but it was to disguise his image to everybody. Anywho, second question. This is not a answer first kind of thing, and Max wins that first one. Which of these famous Shakespeare characters is a charactronym? This is a word entirely made up by Webster's, by the way. This is just like to give a name to that kind of thing. Where something in the character's nature is spelled out in the name. Is it A, Titus Andronicus, B, Lady Macbeth, C, Desdemona in Othello, D, Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet?
Fuck it, Lady Macbeth.
Because she's a lady, and her name is Lady...
Because she's a lady.
I'm going to say Mercutio.
It is Mercutio. Mercutio is named after the word mercurial, which means to change behavior rapidly and unpredictably, which Max
knew.
He's fucking insane.
Obviously my theater degree taught me that.
well, he was a very violent and unpredictable character, so he was mercurial in nature. But yeah, those are we learned something new today.
Well, Rich, thank you for your game of the week. Before this flight comes to a land, I have two questions for each of you gentlemen. And the first being, based off the pilot and the pilot alone, are you going to be watching more Ted Lasso and pressing that next episode? And the second question is not, do we need more sports TV shows? Because we've talked about that a lot. But there seems to be a gap in sweet television, joy television that might taste a little bit like bubblegum. So I'm curious if you think a show like Ted Lasso, where there is this amount of joy and maybe a little bit less of the backstory, a little bit less of the tumultuousness, could survive on TV or a streamer today. So, Rich, I'm going to have you kick us off.
Yeah, I'm watching more of this. I have watched this show several times through, or all the way through several times, I should say. This is a feel-good show that also scratches the itch of like watching someone solve problems without being an asshole, which is not really something that we get to see a whole lot in this world. Everyone older than me that I have introduced the show to, they have fallen in love with it because they also really love when coaches or the psychology of coaching. This show does become primarily what happens when, what makes a good coach, and it's not just strategy, that kind of thing. Like what gels a team together, etc. There's always going to be more room on streaming networks, on TV in general, for sports shows. So they're going to keep making more of this. I'm pretty shocked that they brought this back for season 4, where he's now going to be managing a women's team, like the women's AFC Richmond team. He said he was done with the show, so that means they backed up the Brinks truck for him. But to showcase how successful this show is, the third season ended however long ago. It is still top 5 in Apple Originals right now. There is no the Netflix top 10 changes constantly. The Severance and Pluribus are not in the Apple top 5. That's how fucking impressive the show has been. but it's a constant rewatch. Yeah, no, This is the best show that indicates like boomers are still finding stuff 4 years after it's made.
Max, what about yourself?
Well, I can't properly answer this question, so I've asked my good friend Marcus Mumford to assist me with it. Yeah! Yes,
don't
I
make me
think
buy a banjo.
I think that the final they kicked the banjo player out for being alt-right. That's a true story.
All right, well, sounds like there's an opening. Sorry about it.
The final scene of this Ted alone in his apartment is what sells it for me. I think you need that balance, and I think much to ties into your second question, Geoff, it's about balancing the sweet and the savory. I think that this show finds a good way to do that with the end of this episode. I think that Parks and Rec is another good example of shows that find a way to balance that like real sugary sweetness with real humanity and grounded storylines at times, while also not being afraid to be goofy and positive. As long as you could find ways to do that, you could be effective. Rich, to your point, I just saw Sudekis in a Sam's Club ad, so no, I'm not surprised we're getting season 4.
Yeah, it's related.
Yeah, for myself, yes, I think that I will absolutely be watching episode 2. I think that this show definitely has a lot, and it left me just curious enough at the end that I want to see how Ted does with AFC Richmond and his stint there. As far as the sweet shows existing on TV, yeah, I think that people want joy. I think that people want joy that might have like a small little speck of darkness that we visit once in a while just to ground us a little bit. So like if that happens to be using sports as its chosen medium, then I think that people will eat that up for sure. That being said, shows like Stumble just got canceled by NBC, and no, I have never watched an episode of it, but boy, are we going to talk about it at the year-end episode to see what went wrong. But gentlemen, that is our flight. But before we go, I want to make sure that folks can find you wherever you want to be found. So Rich, where can folks find you?
You can find me stealing the Miss Welton is my father joke. And you can also find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. Find original sketch comedy for Max and myself on TikTok at Dadwagon Comedy.
Max?
You can catch me learning the difference between Tower Bridge and London Bridge and on all things social media at Maxwell Singh.
And you can find me learning the banjo and trying out for Mumford & Sons. But if you're looking for me on
It's
social
just
media,
between the two of us.
Yeah, if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Run Jeff Run. If you're looking for the TV Pilot's License, you can listen to us on anywhere you find your podcast. You can also see our smiling faces on YouTube and follow us on most social media platforms at TV Pilot's License. If you have a question about the show, you might want to be like Allison and submit an in-flight question. You can go to tvpilotslicense.com. You can also leave us a text or shoot us a voicemail at 213-290-1713. Make sure to watch out for some of the stuff that we have coming up. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies and your fingers on the dial.
Mumford and Stepsons.
What? I was just going to...
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.